Chain Reactions, a Nigerian public relations firm, hosted stakeholders to the presentation of the 2017 Edelman Trust Barometer annual report, which was first of its kind in Nigeria. In his opening remarks, the MD of Chain Reactions Plc, Mr. Israel Opayemi, shared the value of the report to the Nigerian market.
Hosting this event for the first time in Nigeria in 17 years is an important step which underscores the strategic importance of the Nigerian market to Edelman. We intend to use this as a foundational step to help Nigeria establish the Nigerian Trust Index, which is the average of a country's trust in the institution of government, business, media, and non-governmental organizations. We want to begin to share ideas with these four critical institutions of society on how to know when the trust gap widens and what to do when it widens.
Giving her goodwill message via video, the chairman of First Bank Nigeria, Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, called for concerted efforts from Nigerians in the area of building a society where trust abides.
When there is low trust, the right kind of people run away from governance. They do not want to get into politics or into government because they know that those who set out to be mischievous can easily destroy things just by presenting falsehood as being true. And because people do not trust first, they distrust in the first instance, that will tend to create a problem.
Mr. Jordan Rittenberry MD, Edelman South Africa, in his report presentation, which had as its theme Trust in Crisis, gave key highlights of the report, which was an annual survey of the trust level in government, media, business, and non-governmental organizations.
We want to take a look at the difference in trust from the informed public to the mass population. So when we look at the informed public, the data on the left, we see slightly more than a third of the informed public are trusters, slightly more than a third are neutrals, and then just a small section are actually distrusters. But when we look at the mass population, the individuals that are not university educated, aren't in the top 25% of their income, aren't significant consumers of media, we see 20 of 28 countries in the mass population are now distrusters, with a very few number being trusters and being in the neutral category. So this is really a glaring inequality that absolutely must be addressed. And frankly, it's also growing. We've seen this go from 9 points to 12 points to 15 points, a 3-point gap year over year from 2016 to 2017. We take a look at industry, and technology continues to reign supreme. Every year we've done this survey, tech is the most trusted industry. Financial services has really had a tough go over the last 7 or 8 years and is the least trusted information. So what we can take from this slide, and what we often counsel our clients, is we need to think and act like tech companies. We need to focus on innovation, how we're changing the status quo, how we're doing things differently, and how we're enabling people to change their lives and do things differently. So think and act more like a tech company as opposed to your particular industry. So it's no longer enough for an organization to do well, they also have to do good. And I think that communicating surrounding those issues is extremely, extremely important as well.
He also charted the way forward.
Globally, we're seeing the #1 things companies can do to decrease trust is, not surprisingly, not to pay bribes. And this continues to make headlines in many countries. Second, paying executives hundreds of times more than workers. And we do see this as extremely challenging as well. And then, on the others, putting profits ahead and avoiding taxes, overcharging for profits, and reducing costs by lowering product quality. So these are the very specific things that organizations can do, the top 5 of all that we looked at, to decrease trust.
Panelists at the event discussed the report as it applied to Nigeria.
We seem to have lost the confidence of the populace across all the strata, across government. We all know why the government one exists. We don't need to tell ourselves the story. The one that's more worrisome now is the media. The way people now consider that the media is already bought, and therefore Why should we trust what they say? And for civil society, which used to be the bastion of trust in Nigeria, in the Nigerian environment, I don't know, people just assume anybody who's doing anything cannot be doing it altruistically. That's because there's money in it. So I think without even commissioning the research yet, I can almost say that this is also reflective in this environment.
The media around the world has lost a lot of trust at this point in time, especially because of the advent of social media and the fact that the people have now been empowered, and they are the ones who look for news, who curate news. And by virtue of the fact that people want to make money through AdSense and Google, you find that there's that urge to put out stories there that are not fact-checked. And so you get all this kind of information and creeping in from time to time from the social media. And so we've not been able to, in the main, separate the social media from the traditional media in Nigeria and the rest of the world.
These things that are happening have been with us for far too long. We've always been part of propaganda, right from the ancient of days. Technology has only just made it easier for us to now behave in a form of mass hysteria. Most of you in this room who are engaged in public relations have also been involved in it in one form or the other. We put out information. It's called how to run businesses, it's how governments run, it's how societies run. What we now see is that the boundaries have now been broken. The nature of relationship between people without any reliance on government, whereby I do not need government to survive, I do not need government to have a relationship with Jordan, for example, and we can do business, we can conduct business, we can move money. We are having less reliance on government.
It's no longer about us. It's now about me. I don't know how we're going to be able to cope with millions and millions of me's to be able to aggregate them to the point where we have a message that speaks to everybody, but that is the challenge that we have. We need to disrupt our long-term traditional ways of thinking about dealing with millions of people, where I'm only looking to protect myself or to protect my interest and all that. We now have to start doing things that make them see that you are protecting their interest. It is when they see that they start to feel, okay, I can calm down, I can become less defensive. And that's when your message can get home.
Trust is trust, integrity is integrity, no matter how you color it. So there's always that need for us to match our words with action in whatever we do as broadcasters, as broadcast journalists, as journalists, that in our day-to-day work, we bring out content, images and videos that we want to show our readers and listeners and viewers that these are fact-checked, verified. And so the traditional media, because of the fact that there's training that the consumers or the people don't have in ways of verifying stories and making sure that you do not publish anything or run to publish, will continue to be the ones that will be on top. And at the end of the day, the traditional media will bring sanity into the system.
It is not necessary for anybody to change. Survival is optional. But there is a small oasis of Nigerians. You may not notice it. Those who run ethical businesses, those who strive against the odds to try to do the right things, those who go against the grain and say we will not be a part of this, who stand out, and who, because of that, these kinds of survey would help reinforce their business practices. If we are not re-evaluating our businesses to compete and to take advantage, it's easier for us to point and say this and that. Let me say also again, if you look at the communications and PR sector in Nigeria, it's been a while that you've brought innovation into your businesses as well. It's easy for you to point at the problems, but if I were you, this is a gold mine. Chaos is money. Make it count.
What were the key findings of what could be done as solutions to tackling this kind of issues affecting governments, affecting business, affecting media, and also NGOs? What's the way forward?
Yeah, and I think what we've really seen as the pyramid of influence is gone. So no longer are the days where the better sources of information are held by the elites. We're seeing the democratization of data, largely in part to the pervasiveness of social media, and we're seeing now the mass population is directing influence, and they're the ones that now resides with authority. So what we're seeing is a new model is needed where the institutions must work very closely with the people in order to enact change. So again, the pyramid of influence is gone, and we're seeing a new model moving from for the people to with the people. And some of the things we specifically looked at were trust in specific sources of information. So trust in a person like yourself or in peer networks are absolutely critical for organizations, and that's an area we need to focus on.
Everyone is on the driver's seat now, so people are very quick to report whatever they think is news, and most of it is fake news. So the only place to verify is actually from those established media organizations who are built on trust and integrity. And I do say that Channels is one of them. And you have issues, companies like BBC, who are also built on trust, and Voice of America and a few other, Deutsche Welle, who we partner with, and that's why we reach out to these people and partner with them. A lot of the international organizations, there are a couple of them that you can rely on. The social media creates a lot of problem. You can see that there's a decline in the trust attribute to the social media, and this is because people are beginning to realize that you can't just consume anything that you get online. So this is a wake-up call for everybody. But I think that it's very important for us to know how to fact-check and try to see how we can verify our stories, even though this is a phenomenon. Facebook, Google, and all the likes, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, people are very quick at trying to consume, content and news from such sites and platforms. We must be discerning.
From the kind of robust conversations we have had here today, very useful lessons have been taken away by the participants here today. So that's our objective. And our most important objective, what will be our real delight, is if by this time next year we're able to gather again and we're beginning to look at a Nigerian Trust Index. So what we're doing today is to lay the foundation for the building of a Nigerian Trust Index, which is the average of how people actually trust all these four institutions of the society: government, businesses, media, and non-governmental organizations. If we can achieve that, then we will have achieved, our ultimate aim, which is what we want to do for our country. Don't forget, Edelman has been doing this for 17 years until we became, the Edelman affiliate in Nigeria and the preferred partner for West Africa, and we said we would like this done for Nigeria.
This conversation needs to go beyond just this launch. It needs to become a national discourse where we start to recognize the fact that we have eroded the structures on which to build an equitable society. And until we invest back in it, until people start changing the way they behave, government can't be talking out of two sides of his mouth. They can't be saying, we're fighting corruption here, and then they are protecting somebody who is corrupt here. How will I trust you? So it's a national problem. It's everywhere, and we have to work back to go into where we can say, okay, we are retracing our steps. We want to do this to meet this. Then people can start following us and seeing that, what we're saying is what we're doing. Then we can build the trust.
The annual Edelman Trust Barometer report, which is entering its 17th edition, is a robust assessment of the role of institutions and industries in the society. With the addition of the Nigerian Trust Index from 2018, it will serve as a veritable tool to evaluate the trust of Nigerian citizens in the government, media, business, and non-governmental organizations.